we, Dr. Delna Gogawala and Dr. Kashmira Gogawala, physiotherapist, welcome you all for this introductory lecture on lungs and breathing exercises. We've just outlined the small lecture for you to understand what we are going to take in this workshop of lungs and breathing exercises. So we'll first see how our respiratory system functions and its parts. So we start with, this is like a human structure. Okay, this is the nose. Okay, so our respiratory system is divided into two parts. One is the upper respiratory system and one is the lower respiratory system. The respiratory system starts from the nose. So we breathe air in from the nose. So nose is a part, the nasal orifices are the part of your upper respiratory system. From here the air goes down inside, okay, and it goes into the trachea. The trachea starts here, okay, where your throat is. From that level your trachea, which is the windpipe. So when you touch your neck from the front, what you can feel, that cartilaginous structure, that is your trachea. So it starts from here and it goes right down till here. Okay, so it goes right down, and then once it enters into the chest cage, it divides. The trachea divides into two branches. Okay, it divides into two main branches and they are known as the bronchus. Okay. Each of this branch enters into your lungs. This is your lungs. So we have two lungs on either side, one lung on either side. So total two lungs, and the trachea enters, divides into bronchus and enters into each lungs. After entering into the lungs, it further divides. Okay, so it's like an inverted tree. So the trachea you can imagine like the branch of the tree, the trunk of the tree, and the lower section, once it divides, these are like the branches. So the bronchus now further divides and redivides into small bronchioles. And at the end of the bronchioles, there is a small air sac. Okay, so there are multiple of these small air sacs into which the bronchioles end. So we just remove this one piece here and see how it looks. So your bronchus, after entering into your lungs, divides into various branches. They are called the bronchioles. And the bronchioles then end into these air sacs. These are known as the alveoli. Okay, this is the most important structure of your lung because this is where your respiratory exchange takes place. So the air, the oxygen that you are breathing in finally goes into these air sacs. Okay, and then here this dotted line is the blood vessels. So there the oxygen exchange takes place. So the oxygen enters into your bloodstream and the carbon dioxide from the bloodstream enters into your alveolus and then takes a reverse turn out, and then you breathe out. Okay, this is how your respiratory system is placed. Next to your respiratory system is your digestive system. Okay, so your digestive system starts from your mouth. You eat and that goes down into your digestive tract, that goes through your esophagus. Your esophagus is placed exactly behind your trachea. Okay, so now your esophagus and trachea, they both are just one after the other. So front is the trachea, back is the esophagus, and there is a small valve which controls their play. So they have if you see, there's a common site here. So there is a valve which controls which pipe will open, whether your wind pipe will open for the air to go inside or your food pipe will open for the food to go inside. So as we all know, an age-old concept that you should not be talking when you're eating. Now why is that? That is because when you're talking, if you see the small box over here, can you see the small box? Yeah, that is your larynx, that is your voice box, through which your air passes. When the air passes through your larynx, at that time you can speak. So when you're speaking, your expiration is happening through the larynx, and that is when you can hear your voice. Now at that time your windpipe has to be open. So now when you're eating, your food pipe has to be open, and when you're talking, your windpipe has to be open. So if you're doing both the activities together, the valve may get confused and the food can enter into the lungs, and which can get very dangerous. That is why they say that when you're eating, you don't talk, because these pipes are very close to each other and there is a single valve which is maintaining their play. Another thing is when we exercise. So after a heavy workout, when you're breathless, we say you don't have to drink water. That is because at that time your air tract is open, because you need more air, you want to breathe more. So and at that time if you try to drink water, this is going to go into the air tract. So this is how your upper respiratory system is functioning. I hope this much is clear. Now, as we had studied in our spine, that the spinal cord, which is very crucial, passes through your vertebral column. The vertebral column, the bony vertebral column is protecting your spinal cord, which is soft. Similarly, your lungs, they are very soft. They are like sponges, They are very soft, and to protect these lungs, we have our bony component, that is the rib cage. So your rib cage, if you see this dotted line, covers the lungs. So it protects the lungs. It forms a cage in which the lungs are, it's on both the sides, in which the lungs are very safely placed. The rib cage is important because sometimes there is restriction in the rib cage itself. Okay, the rib cage is not freely moving. The rib cage in the front, the spinal cord behind, the vertebral column behind, they don't have the mobility, and that causes restrictions on your lungs to expand. So when the lung wants to expand, the rib cage is tight and it does not allow the lungs to expand. So that is one restrictive condition of the lungs. Now it is not only with patients, but even in normal people, the lungs, the capacity, what is the actual capacity of our lungs, we in normals also use only 10 to 15% of our lung capacity. So we can expand that to many folds, but we are only using 10 to 15% of our capacity. So one is because of the restriction of the rib cage. The other reason is, as we just studied, that the alveoli. Now these alveoli, there are thousands of alveoli in each lungs. But since we are not breathing deep, we are all very shallow breathers. Okay, because we are not breathing deep, these alveoli tend to shrink. Okay, they become shrink. And now they no longer participate in respiratory exchange. They are very small things lying inside. So many of the alveoli shrink, even in normal people, right? And one very important concept is, like when we breathe in, we are taking in air. When we breathe out, we are breathing out air. When we are breathing out air, there is some portion of the air which still remains in the alveoli. Okay? So we are not breathing out completely all the air. There is some portion that still remains in the alveoli, and that is known as the residual air. This is present in everybody. There is some amount of residual air which remains in the lungs, in each alveoli of the lung, in everybody. Okay, now this residual air is like a stagnant air. It does not have that much level of oxygen that your fresh air that you breathe has. It is a stagnant air which is lying in the lungs, which is wasting the area of the alveoli. So it is very important for us to, deep breathing in is important, but as well as breathing in, your breathing out to the full capacity is also very important, so that you get this residual air out. Once this residual air goes out, your lung has more space to breathe in the fresh air. Okay? Now in cases of asthma, what happens is, patients who have asthma, in them this residual air, more air gets trapped inside. So the patient cannot breathe out completely. That residual air is there in everybody, but in them, above the residual air, even more normal air which is into respiratory exchange also gets trapped inside, so they cannot breathe out. And when they cannot breathe out completely, it's difficult for them to breathe in, and that is the reason why they get breathless. These are conditions which are to do with the expiratory problems. Okay. Now there are inspiratory problems. Now when do inspiratory problems come? In conditions like bronchiectasis, what happens is these bronchioles, these alveoli, they get filled up with mucus. Okay, this mucus takes away the space, and that is why there is no space for new air to penetrate inside until and unless the mucus is brought out. Okay. That also is one of the reasons for pneumonias, where there is a lot of mucus trapped inside the alveoli, and not only in the alveoli but into the entire respiratory tract, and that makes it difficult for the air to go in. So clearing that is also extremely important. So in this workshop, we are going to the list that we have sent you of the various exercises that we are going to teach are basically to deal with the inspiratory exercises, where we will be working. This is for the normals also, where, as I mentioned, that the alveoli in normals also shrink because we are not breathing to our maximum capacity. So we will be teaching you all how will you breathe to your maximum capacity so that your inspiration becomes much better and deeper. So those are the inspiratory exercises. Then we will be dealing with expiratory exercises, where, as I mentioned about the residual air that is trapped in normals, we will be teaching you all how do you breathe out completely so that this trapped air can move inside and outside, and there will be space for fresh fresh air to move inside. Okay, so those are the expiratory exercises. Then we will be dealing with very important thoracic expansion exercises, where we will be dealing with this rib cage. How do you make the resistance of the rib cage a little less, and how do you expand the rib cage so your lungs can expand? Many a times we just go on working on the lungs and the rib cage itself is tight. So no matter how much you're trying to expand, the lungs won't expand if your rib cage doesn't expand along with it. So thoracic expansion exercises will be dealing with your rib cage. And another very important portion that we'll be taking are your breathing muscles. Now breathing is an active process, though it happens involuntarily. It is an active process. Your main breathing muscle is your diaphragm, which is at the end like this. There is a muscle here inside. That's known as the diaphragm. So we will be teaching you all how do you activate your diaphragm. So when your diaphragm works well, your work of breathing, that is the strain that is put on your body for breathing, reduces by many folds if you activate your diaphragm correctly. So we will be teaching you strengthening and diaphragmatic breathing exercises. Also, along with diaphragm, there are other muscles in the body which help in breathing, and we will be teaching you how to activate them and how do you strengthen them. So hope to see you all for our workshop so that you can take the maximum benefit of all that we are going to teach. Thank you.